that's an important point. The number of teams that should be cash flowing in this league, compared to other leagues that have been around for quite a long time, that was the promise from the early days. We want to try to get you to a place where you're cash flowing within the first few years.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of SBJ's On Stage. I'm your host, Taylor Bloom. Today we're bringing you a panel conversation from the stage at the SBJ World Congress of Sports in Nashville that dives into the launch of TGL and what it takes to build a new sports property from the ground up. Recorded on April 22nd, 2025, this discussion is moderated by Sports Business Journal's Chris Smith and features Mike McCarley, founder and CEO of Tomorrow Sports and TGL, Roz Durant, Executive VP, Programming and Acquisitions at ESPN, Don Cornwell, co-founder and CEO of Dynasty Equity and Tomorrow Sports Investor, Alexis Ohanian, founder 776, founding control owner of Angel City FC, and founder of Los Angeles Golf Club and Athlos. Together, they break down the strategy behind TGL's first season, from media partnerships and investment decisions to fan engagement and future growth. If you're interested in how new leagues get built and what it really takes to turn an idea into a viable sports business, this panel delivers. Let's go on stage.
I am joined by four incredible individuals, and I will go down the line here introducing them, though I'm sure everyone in the room knows each and every one of them. Alexis Ohanian, founder of 776, obviously an investor across sports. Mike McCarley, founder and CEO of Tomorrow Sports. Roz Durant from ESPN. And on the end, Don Cornwell, co-founder and CEO of Dynasty Equity, sports investment firm. Thank you guys for being here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are talking TGL, everyone's favorite new golf league. And Mike, I'm going to kick it to you first here.
Sure.
Take us back a few years, right? Because you'd been at NBC a long time.
Yep.
Summer of 2022 comes out. You've teamed up with Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods. You're launching this new business. You said at the time, and I will quote you, we want to focus on accelerating the evolution of sports. What was this opportunity you saw? What was the white space ahead of you? Walk us through maybe that first meeting or first meetings with Tiger and Rory. What was Tomorrow Sports at that point in time?
Yeah, well, when we announced it, we had been working on it in complete secrecy for 2 years with NDAs with everybody, seemed like. Probably a lot of people in this room. And I think we were able to see what was happening in media generally, that consumption was changing very quickly, attention spans were getting shorter, and there were sports that were either going to be disrupted or were being disrupted, and was there a different or better way to do it? And what does that mean? Does that mean go partner with the existing governing bodies, go get the best athletes in the world to come on board and be your partner? And very quickly, we were able to go and get, Tiger was first, and we had a 90-minute meeting, and at the end of it, he told me, if I commit to doing this, will you commit to doing it too? And at that point, I kind of looked in the rearview mirror and said, okay, my career from behind me is going to help me move everything forward, and we were off and running. And then, we got other athletes and the PGA Tour and, all of these people who have joined us here on board. And, it was a collection of the right partners in a lot of different areas to make it all work. And I think, that's ultimately what you saw on that tape was a lot of hard work and a lot of good ideas from a lot of people who joined at different parts of the journey.
Okay. Don, next. You were one of the early investors. You see no shortage of opportunities, right, across the sports landscape. And I think especially when we talk about emerging leagues and properties, right, no shortage of people who are looking for money. What about Tomorrow Sports? What about TGL stood out to you? Maybe, set it apart from that whole ocean of investment opportunities you had.
Yeah, I guess maybe take a step back for a moment. We use the word emerging a lot when it comes to TGL. I think of it a little differently. Okay. You've got a very experienced management team. You've got the PGA Tour. You've got Tiger Woods. You've got Rory McIlroy. You've got proven brands in a sport where there's a track record of people watching it, right? We knew when we looked at it, golf has a lot of embedded fans, so it wasn't a matter of converting people to a new sport. It was a sport that really mattered. Then when we actually looked at the company itself, the answer's right here, right? It's these three parties, right? You've got a fantastic management team. Mike had already assembled a group of individuals that we knew could execute, had a lot of credibility, having come from places like Comcast and NBC. They had partners, people like ESPN, SoFi, Genesis, right? You looked up and said, okay, these are very credible, very data-driven organizations that had made the decision to jump on board with Mike and the team. And then third, they had already started to sell franchises. And importantly, we looked at the groups of folks that were attracted to this opportunity. You had team owners, right? People who had a lot of success with newer teams like Angel City, but also the Fenways and the Arthur Blanks of the world. You have Alexis, who is the ultimate community builder, right? And so you look at all these, as Mike said, you look at all these ingredients and you say, this thing is kind of built for success. And so for us, as a firm that looks at sports broadly, we always knew, we still know that the leagues and the properties that win will evolve, right? And they will think about the consumer. And this business was built to help with that. And the PGA is the first, and with TGL is the first one. But when you look at the cap table, there's hints of other places where tomorrow can go. And so we thought for Dynasty, this is a great place for us to be a part of that revolution.
Alexis, I'll kick it to you next because you've invested not just at the parent company, but also as a team owner.
That's right.
So you're leaning in a big way here. I mean, how does this compare with, you've been involved in the NWSL, you're doing stuff now with women's track and field. I mean, talk us through a little bit of how you view these investment opportunities, especially with, new properties, startup leagues, kind of what stood out to you and convinced you that you wanted to be in this in a big way?
Look, I love the blank canvas. Probably before my tweet 5 years ago, more people knew about me as like the guy who made Reddit. And I've spent the last 5 years spending a lot of time building in emerging sports. But it started from a tweet about how undervalued women's sports was, in particular soccer. And the opportunity there, starting Angel City, in hindsight, I actually wish I had just bought the NWSL and basically reset that org and built it like a technology company. And that's, with software and best practices, all this other stuff. Now, obviously, Angel City still turned out pretty good, but there was a part of me chasing that. And when this opportunity presented itself, it was this opportunity to say, okay, now I don't have to do the hard work of actually building the league. We'll let Mike and the team do that. But let me get a front row seat to folks who are looking at a sport, like Don said, that from first principles has a massive fan base, but one that I know I personally as a sports fan never watched because I never played golf and it didn't seem like it was for me. And if it felt like it didn't feel like a sport for me, there's a whole lot of people who probably felt like golf was not for them. And furthermore, the value prop of taking a couple hours to watch the greatest to do it in front of a raucous crowd, like, hell yeah, sign me up. And so there was enough about it that I liked, and frankly, it was a chance to see folks do the messy part of building a league. And I don't know, I've enjoyed every bit of it. And it's been such a learning opportunity as well that we've obviously put towards building Athlos. But these folks have operated under duress at times, thanks to Mother Nature, and delivered a product that has exceeded all expectations, right? Ball don't lie, the right. Viewers don't lie. Folks love this product.
Roz, bring you to the conversation here. You come in as a broadcast partner late 2023. Similar to my question for Don, you see so many opportunities, right? I'm sure there's so many leagues dying for exposure who would do anything to be on ESPN.
Yes.
What about TGL? Kind of stood out to you. Why did this make sense as an ESPN property?
I will tell you that it was a very easy and a fast yes for us.
Okay.
For all the reasons that Don mentioned. You guys just saw the sizzle. Like, we want in on that, right? If you're listening to, hopefully everyone listened to Jimmy and Bob earlier, and Jimmy talked about our mission at ESPN. It's pretty simple. Our mission is to serve sports fans, right? And Bob spoke of our company sits at the intersection of entertainment and innovation. Innovation is not only important to us, it's how we deliver on our mission. It's how we serve sports fans. Storytelling is core to our Disney DNA. This is what we do. So when you hear about this new property, you trust the management team. You get to know and trust the management team, and you realize that what they're building, we buy into the vision. It was a shared vision of how do we reach an existing fan and attract a younger fan. That's important to us. How do we do it in a way that is different, that is innovative, that tells new stories? Sports provides the best reality TV. Put a mic on a player and you have reality TV at its best. And so we start to think about not just what they were looking to do, but how it would be done, the technology, the innovation, still speaking to a fan that we speak to, a true golf fan, but doing that in a way that taps into the innovation in ways that have not been done, that reaches an audience, as Alexis mentioned, that perhaps haven't felt as connected to the sport. So ways to bring more people in, it spoke to us. And then it became less of, do we do this? We're like, absolutely, we're in. Now let's just figure out how to get it done.
So I think perfect segue into, you guys have all talked about the importance of the partnership, right?
Yeah.
You guys are all buying in. If I'm not mistaken, about a month after you guys announced the ESPN deal, the roof collapses on your stadium that's under construction. Right. Actually, Mike, where were you when you got the bad news?
Oh man, it was about 6 a.m, and I was in the gym, and I get a phone call, which was, we don't think it's that bad, but the weather is gonna get worse throughout the day, so we'll let you know what's going on. So within several hours, you kind of start to understand that it's going to get worse and worse. And I knew that at that point, my job was going to be a consensus builder amongst the partners. So we had 6 team owners who, we had several phone calls, group calls, individual calls. The first person that said blessing in disguise to me was Tiger Woods. Jay Monahan called and said, look, we believe in this. We're going to believe in it. Whenever you tell us the right time is, we're still going to be there as a partner. Anthony Noto from SoFi, who is another one. I know Lauren is on a panel tomorrow morning, but SoFi's been a tremendous partner in all this. He said, look, I believed in this 2 years ago when we first started talking about it. I'm going to believe in it more a year from now, if that's when you tell me the best time to do it will be. And then I think the piece of it that was the most important was making sure that we aligned the schedule with ESPN. So Roz, to her credit, came down to Florida. We sat at a coffee shop in my little town for 2 hours. And after about an hour, it was pretty clear. We started with, what does the schedule look like next year at the same time? And I remember you told me, and it was kind of one of the first pieces of the overall premise of the business is don't have golf go head to head with the NFL or college football. Use the NFL and college football as a way to promote to golf. And we spent the last hour, she asked me how I was doing, and I was like, you know what? I'm not doing very good because we got a lot of pressure on us. And you were very worried about my throat. Because I had been talking for so long, for so many people, for about 18, 20 hours a day for 2 days straight. It was great. So at the end of it, it was pretty clear what the decision was, and it was a matter of just making sure everybody was on the same page. And I remember we had another call on maybe Sunday afternoon with all the team owners. And then we probably announced it on Monday or Tuesday that we were going to, just kick it one season. And it was great. I mean, it ended up being, I think it brought a lot of people together for a lot of the right reasons. But it also gave us more time to make everything better. And I think a lot of what you saw on that tape at the very beginning was, was the result of a lot of hard work. But a lot of that hard work went in improving what the product was going to be to make it even better in what would have been year 2 is actually year 1.
I think that's an important point on what we just saw. That sizzle was because of the extra time. And you don't hope for these things to happen. Right. And you definitely don't plan for these things to happen. I remembered I was looking back this morning at our text exchange. The next morning I sent you a note and I'm just like, how are you? Yeah. And Mike is ever the optimist. He's like, I'm okay. And I was like, I want to see you. So I go down to your point and we tried to have a conversation even though you could barely speak over a whisper. Yeah. And he said, I've been on the phone for the past 12 hours by this time. And the conversation I remember us having is one saying, just know that we're going to be there. Yeah. So if this happens in a couple of months, that's fine. We're going to be there. Yeah. But if it's going to happen a year from now, that's fine. We're going to be there. And that the back and forth was on, let's do it right. Not let's just do it because this was the original plan. You get one time to make a first impression, and you want to come out the gate with the best possible product. And the question was, can we do that with what just happened and still do that in 2 months? Or is your best product going to be a year from now? Whatever. And that wasn't our decision, that was your decision. And saying, we trust you to make the decision, but don't do it with concern for us. Yep. We're your partner. And your partner's going to be there with you whenever. And I sincerely believe, you said that Tiger called it a blessing in disguise. I believe that. Yeah. I believe that what we launched with was incredible. And part of it, the incredible effect was having more time to get it just right.
Yeah. I think, Chris, another important point in this, we had, we talk about partners, but CAA came in really early in the process with us and helped us when we had a small team we're able to rely on the army that they had. So Vino and Paul and Alan and Fabian, and it was just kind of like, it really helpful to rely on some people that were there and had the not just the wherewithal, but the ability to just, you pick up the phone and you say, hey, what do you think about this? Yeah. And you get quick advice and you get a quick introduction, and then you keep moving. And I think that, you look back on those first year or two, that was a really helpful part of the not just from an investment standpoint, but just from an advisory and kind of helping you move the business forward as well.
I want to put the same question to the two investors on this stage, because obviously you guys are coming with a little bit different framework, and hey, an extra year to revenue generation is not necessarily a good thing. I mean, for you guys, do you agree blessing in disguise? Was this something that you're happy with as an investor? I mean, not happy with the initial situation, but with how things played out, I mean, how do you view that, kind of the postponement and what it allowed the league to do that maybe it couldn't have done otherwise?
Hopefully you'll back me up on this, Mike. I remember telling you that Jocko quote, good. When shit happens, he's got this great take on it. Simply good. Take the bad news, look at it as a blessing, and figure out what you're going to do next. And the framing, I feel like y'all both nailed it. Yeah. The product we got to see this year, even though I wish you'd won the championship, the product we got to see this year for the season, the first season of TGL, was so good because of that delay. Yeah. And look, as an entrepreneur, I think that's, I'd like to believe that we had a certain amount of flexibility compared to maybe some of the other, like you said, there's some big four team owners in this league. I have no idea what that's like. As a startup guy, I'm used to things falling apart all the time. Sure. The joy of creating Reddit was when our site went down, your users would just literally use the front page to tell you what an idiot you were. so I developed a pretty thick skin at like 20. So for me, what was more important was how this team was handling it, how our partners were handling it, and everyone just seemed to step up in such a big way I'm so proud of how the team recovered from it and actually made it a huge win.
We had a group of team owners, I think Alexis and Arthur Blank, who, if you look at them on paper, they couldn't be any more different, right? But they both have built companies from the ground up. Yeah. So Arthur with Home Depot, Alexis with Reddit, and they had lived this sort of kind of roller coaster ride of the good and the bad, and you live and die with it. And I think there is definitely a blind optimism that you have to have, that no matter, where people may not, be able to see what the vision is, and you're just kind of wondering, it's like, I don't know why they can't see it, and you just keep moving forward and chasing what it is that that it can be.
Mm-hmm. We hadn't closed by the time when this happened, right? We were through our investment committee to make the investment. I want to say a couple of weeks prior to the.
You could have pulled out. I know you wouldn't.
I'll call it deflation, whatever you want to call it, deflation, right? Yeah. And my partner Jonathan Nelson and I got on the phone, talked about it, and we both agreed. We had conviction in the management team, we had conviction in the product, and so let's go, right? Yeah. And we knew that this would give them an opportunity to build up a fan base, right? The anticipation. You knew we had ESPN as a partner that would help with that over the course of the year. And so we couldn't be happier. I mean, it was really a blessing in disguise, because that building is something special. I probably got to 8 matches this year, and every time I was with somebody new and they saw it, they're like, how much did this cost? Yeah. And it's a real testament to Mike and the team and everybody around CAA, everybody to build that kind of arena for something so specialized. Yeah. And to have everybody go there and come away feeling like, I want to come back. And I think it bodes well to the future of whether it's other venues or other things that Mike and the team do.
It even helped us think more. We spent more time on scheduling, if you remember that. Yeah. Because, we were, to your point, we finalized our deal in October. We were launching in January. And we were fitting it in where we could, but to have that extra time gave us space to be a bit more strategic, move some things around to better accommodate. So I believe that the result was a better schedule because of this, and we had more time for promotional planning. Yeah. So to really get behind it and to think of how do we use the full megaphone of ESPN? How do we use all of our platforms and to have 14 months, versus 2, to plan that just, I believe, allowed us to be better partners.
Yep.
So you had over 800,000, average viewership, over 20 million unique viewers. And Roz, I'll stay with you. I mean, how did that compare to your expectations?
It was better than our expectations. And it wasn't just about the number of viewers, it's about who they were, right? Because what Mike and team promised was they were looking to attract a younger audience. And we did. We did. Like I believe it's just second behind NBA, but one of the youngest audiences in sports. That's a good thing. And go beyond the viewership on television. When you look at the engagement, like Mike and I would be texting if I wasn't at a match, I'd be texting him from the match and following social media and commenting on what people are saying. So you look at the level of engagement around, and you look at this younger audience, they're not just watching, but they're talking about it. They're enjoying it. It delivered. And oh, by the way, we talked in advance about just all the cool technology. I did not expect it to be, to your point, just as incredible as it was. So yeah, it absolutely not only delivered, but I'd say over-delivered on our expectations for both an audience standpoint and engagement, and just the cool factor.
What I thought was pretty awesome was the number of viral moments that were created, right, which helped create a narrative throughout the season, not just for TGL, but for the PGA as well.
That's right.
And so it felt like, even though the match was happening Monday, Tuesday, you kind of lived with it through the rest of the week, which is, I know what you were shooting for, and it worked. I think that's what helped with the average age.
Yeah, I agree.
Alexis, as a team owner, I mean, what were your sort of barometers for success in year one, right? I mean, you guys had the best record in the regular season, and not to rub it in, I know you came up a little short there at the end, but I mean, as a business, right, as a team operator, what were you looking at as sort of the most important criteria that you're doing a good job in year one of this league?
So this was a unique model, and the way I describe it to folks is it's asset light. I don't think I'm oversharing anything.
No, that's right.
Right, like because, right, if you
part of our pitch to you.
Yes, so I can scale that here, right? So part of the advantage of a pitch like this is, as opposed to say owning a team in the NWSL, where you have an entire set of staff, not just for the business side, but for the player side, where you have to have facilities, training, practices, et cetera. Our 4 players, they get paid by us, but they don't have training facilities we need to set up. We don't have staffing for them. Like, they're still, their day job is still the PGA Tour, and this is a sort of side hustle that everyone agrees on. And so it means it's a very asset-light team. And so it means it can really run like a startup. That is, with a very, very, very lean operational team that is very flexible, very nimble. And so, the biggest things I wanted to make sure we could accomplish were making the LA Golf Club the #1 team in the league. And from a brand standpoint, a content standpoint, a community standpoint, you heard merch sales, follower counts, engagement, even meetups that we held all over Southern California, to be able to build that list, to be able to build that following, to see if we could do a thing that outside of Ryder Cup, no one really equated with golf, and that is like build a team. And that was, I think, really the biggest risk. We knew the individual athletes had huge followings. We believed in the format, all the other things these folks are saying. But could we actually build a brand that one day someone might want to tattoo on their bodies?
Yeah.
That for me, when I first saw the first Reddit alien, which I happened to draw while I was bored in class, tattooed on someone's body, it was like 2 years into Reddit. That's when I knew like we were probably onto something. And sports is one of the few businesses in the world where people regularly tattoo corporate logos on their bodies, and we take.
I can say I've never heard that as a measure of success.
That is the tattoo,
really good.
The tattoo metric.
Okay.
How many tattoos?
And to my knowledge, we have not yet had an LAGC tattoo, but it's only been a year. Give us time.
When are you getting yours?
It feels like we're on the trajectory.
There's a big bicep right here when you win your first championship.
Actually, God, I was just talking to the team about getting some ink next weekend, so maybe we could sneak it in. Definitely when we get the first chip. Oh, did I just commit to that? Sorry. My wife's like, all right, so be it. But really, I think there is this. There were early signs there that we were building something that people really loved, and I think the other metric I had that I knew this was going to work was after the first match, seeing how much our guys cared.
Yeah.
That all of sports comes back from the players. Like, let's not delude ourselves. It's not because of the owners, it's not because of the commissioners, it's not because of the logos. It's because of the athletes. And we needed to prove that this was a format that the athletes would give a damn about. And it was funny because even in the early weeks, like guys, there were different levels of giving a damn. By the end of the season, it was very
really
clear
clear.
everyone was all in. Yeah. And for our team in particular, I was so proud of the fact that these guys, the format really worked for them. Being mic'd up and being able to jaw and actually have a little bit more of a personality than the PGA Tour lets them have was so effortless. And that's the part that captivates. And that was the part where I just knew, oh my God, this sport is actually really fun. And as someone who was not a fan of golf, I became a fan of TGL. And then sure enough, when I start seeing the tweets in my feed about, hey, look what's going on at the Masters, I feel the inspiration, and I'll turn on the television and be like, okay, I don't have 4 days to devote to watch to this thing, but I'm tuning in on Sunday. I'm paying more attention now to the actual proper sport of golf, and data point of one, but I feel like that was the dream of
And I think that's an important part because from the very early days, that was part of the mission. Okay, so we attract a younger audience. At what point is that now that younger audience going to start following where that's going to help that player when he's climbing the leaderboard on Saturday or Sunday, and ultimately that helps the PGA Tour. And so, we're doing our part on a Monday or Tuesday on ESPN, and that then helps the PGA Tour on a Saturday, Sunday on CBS or NBC, and it creates a bit of a cycle that only helps the sport long term. And when we talk about, not necessarily being a disruptor, but trying to be additive to the overall ecosystem, that's exactly what we're trying to do. And I think your point about the structure, having a team owner be able to come in and, most of the economics are central to the league. So a lot of the costs are sitting there at the league, where we want a great marketing partner who can speak to an audience and build a community the way that you guys did. That's, and that's happening in pockets around the country.
I'll tell a funny story. So Alexis and I met at some water park, I think it was in March of 24. And I walk in, I was a little late, and he's filming videos because he launched merch for LAGC. And I guess in the first few days or something, if anybody bought like a shirt, you sent them a video saying, welcome to the team.
It ended up being the first 3,000 people who bought merch.
Oh, wow.
I made a selfie video. For
Personalized
everyone.
video.
Personalized.
Fantastic.
Each one took about 30 seconds, so you can do the math. But I do it in between meetings and while I'm waiting for folks who are a little late.
Sorry.
Just teasing. But yes, you saw what a psychopath I was.
Well, no, but that's what I knew. I said, that's how you build community.
That's
and
right.
that's what you need. You need engaged partners, right? Whether it's team owners, ESPN,
right.
investors, the whole thing. And Mike put it together.
As a team owner, how do you convert that into business success? What is the timeline of profitability here? Is it just all kind of sponsorship and merchandise, or how are you thinking about building this as a business?
The nice thing is my team president's going to love me for saying this, but we should be profitable this year. And that is less a testament of our revenue or business acumen and more a testament to the fact that it's an asset-light business. And actually getting to profitability when you don't have to build facilities, when you don't have to hire dozens of support staff, we don't have to do all that stuff. And frankly, also right now, it could not be a better time to be building a team this way or with this model. Back in my world in tech, right, in just the last 2 years since signing the ink to buy that first team, software has now been basically commoditized thanks to AI, and it's doing so much to scale the work of high agency, high output people. I have no doubt that our, leading the league marketing team will end up not needing to grow that much bigger in headcount 5 years from now, because they will have more and more tools at their disposal to get more done more effectively. And you can see this across so many different parts of the business that I feel so much better having a small, lean team today in an age where we're going to reimagine so many types of work that we do in front of a screen than if I had a team with hundreds, thousands of people.
Right. Mike, same question.
That's an important point. The number of teams that should be cash flowing in this league, compared to other leagues that have been around for quite a long time, that was the promise from the early days. We want to try to get you to a place where you're cash flowing within the first few years.
Now, profitability is not as easy at the league level. So, walk us through a little bit. How are you looking at that? What is that timeline?
Part of what we're signing up for.
Right.
Look, we think we can run a great business here. We think we can run a great product, and you, as an investor with us, a partner with us, are betting on that. And that, it adds a little bit of pressure, but the old Billie Jean King quote about pressure is a privilege. I talk to our team about that all the time. And the reality is, we've built something that we have people who believe in. You're investing in creating really long-term enterprise value growth, and that's what Don and Alexis and everybody else who's invested in the business are focused on.
That said, what is the timeline to trying to be cash flow positive? I realize you're investing, right? You're building the business.
Yeah, well, we've got Tomorrow Sports as a parent company,
Right.
and then you've got TGL. You're looking out, the course of a few years for the league, and then, the Tomorrow Sports as a business is a different business. It's about growing something a lot bigger over time.
So we got about 10 minutes left here.
Sure.
I want to turn the focus forward, right? You guys talked a lot about how much you learned during that 1 year postponement, how much you've learned during year one. I'm curious how you apply that, right? I mean, some people in the industry that I talk to say that they're looking at TGL, right, to see what is working and what isn't working. And I think a lot of people in the room here want to learn from what is working and what isn't working.
Right.
So, Mike, I'll stay with you here. In your mind, what was the key learning or key learnings from year one, right? Like, what is the main thing that you want to try to take forward and apply to season 2 as you think about growing the league?
Yeah, we've had Mike Blank from CAA, who's Connect Ventures, and Don and a handful of our other investors. I get a call or a text, or they flip me an email where there's another startup sports league you probably got a bunch of these too. It's like, we're going to be the TGL of X.
That's when you know you made it.
Well, I
You're in the
guess,
VC
right? I had
catchphrase,
Joey
blank for
Brander
blank.
here, who's on our runs our corp dev group. He's like, yeah, this is kind of like, we're going to be the Uber of X that you would get, 10 years ago.
That's right.
Look, it was a bit of, I think it was nice to hear, but you also start, this kind of, it's flattering, but I think you also know, okay, there's a lot of competition out there. And in what changed for me when you move into kind of this venture-y startup world, coming from NBC, where you've got 3-4 competitors and you want to eat everyone's lunch every single day, that is what you do. In this venture startup world, everyone's sharing information and, hey, you want me to introduce you to so-and-so? It's like so friendly. It's just completely different. But I think the reality is it was flattering, but you also start to see what's working. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like, okay, what's working here? What's the feedback we're getting from our various partners? What are other things that we can do and apply? And then the roadmap that our investors are looking at, okay, what's working here and how do we apply that to something down the road? Whether it be a different sport or a different iteration of golf or some other project. I think there's just a lot of learning and how do you take what we did here and move forward. I think you don't want to have the delay that we had, but the reality is, an efficient model that investors can really believe in. And frankly, build a media company that's focused on live sports. We all know that we're all in this business together, and we all know that there is a nice path for that business if we continue to all do our jobs the right way.
Roz, was there anything on the broadcast side that maybe didn't work like you hoped it would, or another way to think about it? What on the broadcast side do you think could be better or different, or what changes are you thinking through looking ahead to?
What do you think? I need to talk to the viewers, hear your thoughts. There isn't anything glaring that I look at and say, oh, that absolutely didn't work. Ideally, when you launch something new, no matter how amazing it is, that is your foundation. It's like that's the worst product you'll have, because why? You learn. You launch day one and it's amazing, and then you hear from people and you say, oh, well, we start the tweaking process, the improvement process. So we're never looking and saying, oh, we have it figured out and it's perfect. Yeah. We say, I thought that was really good. Now let's listen to what the fans tell us, because that is our mission, to serve them. What did they say? How does our partner feel about it? And we'll continue to tweak and make sure that year 2 will be even better than year 1.
Improvements every week were kind of our mantra in the middle of the season. I mean, I told our team, if you're not changing,
that's right,
you're choosing that this is good enough. And I never want to be in business with anyone who is saying that this is good enough.
By the way, I'm taking that. That was good.
It works. And I give a lot of credit. When I was doing Sunday Night Football at Fred Gaudelli, I would see every week they would make improvements, and that's why that show got to be so good. And I think the difference in that is that you can just say, okay, that's what we did this week, and we're going to do it that way all season, or we are going to keep changing this and keep making it better. Some things you're going to change to may not work, so you're going to keep trying new things and keep changing and keep tweaking.
Don, what in your mind is sort of a key priority year 2?
keep executing. And I think, look, one of the things that we were really excited about was the data around who's watching.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that in the first few weeks, there was a curiosity factor. People said, what's this new thing? It's Tiger, let me check it out.
Does it work?
Does it work, right? And what is it? And in the early days, people said, I don't know, this is video games, I'm not into it. But over time, it became a sport. And people watched it like they watch sports. Sometimes they're blowouts, sometimes they're not. I think as we move into year 2, looking at the fans and how they react to it, and do they treat it like a sport? Do they think about it as a competition? Are they gambling on it?
Yeah.
Right? One of the things that I know, because I have a little bit of a past in this world, the gambling world, the gambling firms are still trying to figure out how to best make markets. And the prize picks and the underdogs, they're all trying to figure it out. They now have time to do so. And I think that is going to turbocharge things even further. And then I think, as Mike said, the competition, the hammer rules.
That's right.
People figuring out the strategy around that. All of that will get better and honed now that, the team owners have a year to think about some of those decisions, right? and that's exciting. And then you're going to start to see player movement,
Yeah.
right? And, is there a player coming in, coming out, right? That's exciting. And then you get the blogs talking about it in the podcasts. And so you've got an ecosystem of TGL, which is fantastic, and that's what we're focused on. And then for us, as investors at tomorrow, what are their sports? I mean, I know Mike's getting bombarded with people saying we want to partner with you on this and that. And for us, it's just figuring out where to spend the time. We got to nail TGL and continue to nail it, but are there other things out there that we can do that are interesting?
I do think it's interesting to your point, like with the hammer rule changes, that year 2 will be a different experience for what the competition looks like.
Right.
And it, again, only gets better. Alexis talked about the players caring. And you watched over the course of the season how serious and how competitive they were. And you listened to some of the trash talking and realized how competitive they were. I also believe that as they now have a year in, have more experience, more comfort with the technology, and they care. Like, they care, and they're not okay not winning, that even the competition will get better. So now when you mix the learnings from technology with and innovation, you add to that the rule changes that will add a different intrigue, and the increased competition, it makes us excited for what the future holds.
One thing, you'll love this. Well, you won't like it, but you'll love it at the end. When your team lost in the semifinals, I went into the locker room.
No, I know, they were
thank the
gutted.
guys for bringing it all year long, because they really did.
They did.
But I'm walking around the corner into the locker room, and they're talking about what they would do differently to prepare for next year.
They were
an
team.
hour before an hour after they just lost.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's really good to kind of get that competitive spirit and start thinking about next year.
Dude, I got messages from those guys. Credit to our team president Neil, who really went out of his way to build the team.
Yeah.
And that's just it's funny. These guys, they've been playing a solo sport their entire lives, and again, outside of a rider in these sort of exceptional circumstances. And once it clicked, and this was done over drinks, over dinners, like you don't have a locker room and practice, right, to bond. You do it over food, you do it over drink, you just time together. And it was just so heartening to see how much they cared. And these are guys who have made all the money in the world they'll ever need, have won all kinds of accolades, but yet this new thing that did not exist a year before suddenly became so damn important to them. And that, yes, it is bittersweet. I do wish we had won. But at the end of the day, it was such a silver lining to show that this product, TGL, really had done something special here, and it will only get better. This was the worst it will ever be.
That's right.
And it still exceeded everyone's expectations.
A few last questions as we look ahead. One, Alexis, most of your investments in sports have been in women's sports. This is a glaring exception. What kind of expectations do we have for, and Mike, I'm going to ask you to chime in on this as well.
I got into trouble the last time I mouthed off about this. No, I didn't. I did make some headlines. Look, literally, part of my pitch for why I wanted to be the first owner in the league was because I wanted a women's team. And so I've been bugging these guys about the LPGA deal for a minute. They have been very interested. It's just these things take time, and I'm not allowed to make any news. But I think you bring up a great point, because especially as a daddy caddy to my daughter, the golf game apparently historically has not really been that accessible to women, I've heard. But it turns out there's a ton of amazing athletes right now who also have, a few of them in particular, have massive social media followings, global followings in some cases. And the sport of golf is a really captivating sport on the green. And again, I did a little research. Turns out a lot of the biological differences between the men and women's game actually kind of disappears in the short game. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so you open up a sport that actually really could accommodate a mixed team. Mixed tennis is fun, but it's still, it doesn't quite feel as competitive as it could be. Golf actually allows for that in some really interesting ways, and it's a unique sport in that regard. So I would love to see it, Mike. Would love
Mike?
to see it.
I mean, there's no secret we're working on that, and Alexis has been a great, thought leader for us on that, and I think most of our team owners are right behind him in that area too. So that's.
I can't let you off the stage, obviously, without bringing up expansion either. We've seen reports, Dallas group apparently bidding nearly $80 million.
Well, I don't know if that report was accurate.
Okay.
I would tell you that we're in the middle of an expansion process now.
Okay.
I think we were part blown away, part pleasantly surprised at the number of actual bidders that there were from all over the world. We're in 130 countries from a media partner standpoint. So I guess maybe we shouldn't have been, but we've started to narrow that list down. We're narrowing it down to North America generally, and I think we'll have some news on that at some point.
Rough idea of how many teams you want to add?
We'll see, but we'll start with one, and then it'll grow from there. But I think there's been a lot of interest, and we just got to be methodical about the process and start narrowing it down. And we started narrowing it down.
All right, and we're running on zeros, but I'm going to give you the last word here because Don mentioned what's next for Tomorrow Sports, and I want to give you the chance to give us a little insight into how you're thinking about beyond TGL and what else tomorrow might be able to do.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at sports that have a lot of the same attributes as golf, and then we're looking at some that we can look at as shorter form versions of them, faster versions of themselves, and some require a lot of R&D, some that you started that R&D, that's probably a 2-year R&D project before you start the technology piece to be able to implement it, and some require no tech at all, and I think those will be able to move a lot faster on, but nothing that we're prepared to announce. Or
well, maybe we'll have you here a year from now to tell us about your next big project.
There you go.
All right, well, we're unfortunately out of time, but guys, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of On Stage. If you enjoyed this panel conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share with colleagues or anyone interested in how innovation is reshaping the sports industry. As we wrap up 2025, I'd love to hear from you. Send me your thoughts, feedback, and ideas for On Stage at tbloom@sportsbusinessjournal.com. We'll be back in January with another conversation from the stage featuring leaders shaping the future of sports. Until next time, stay tuned and stay ahead. This is On Stage.